We are live. All right, good morning, everybody. This is the October 27th, 2022 Coastal Permit Administrator hearing. The Mendocino County Coastal Permit Administrator meetings will be conducted virtually and not available for in-person public participation. The provisions of the Government Code Section 54953 and the recommendation of the Mendocino County Health Officer. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on the Mendocino County YouTube page. And with that, I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 10 a.m. May I please get a determination of noticing?
All items on the agenda were properly noticed.
Thank you. That takes us to item 3A on the regular calendar. This item is case number CDP 2022-0022. Owner is Sharon Holt. Applicant is Robert Holt. The request is a standard coastal development permit to demolish an existing shed and construct a 624 square foot garage, which includes a half bath and a 520 square foot loft area to be used as a hobby shop. The project has been determined to be categorically exempt from CEQA, and the project is located in the coastal zone in Westport Village on the north side of Albion Street, 200 plus or minus feet east of its intersection with State Route 1, located at 24,950 Abalone Street in Westport. Assessor's parcel number 013-280-21. May I please get a staff report?
Yes, thank you. This is Liam Crowley, staff planner for the project. As stated, the applicant proposes to construct a detached garage. Staff determined that the project was categorically exempt from further review under CEQA. And staff found that the project, as conditioned, is consistent with the Certified Local Coastal Program and the Mendocino County Coastal Zoning Code as discussed in the staff report. On June 30th, 2022, the project was referred to various relevant agencies for comment. Any comments that triggered project modification or conditions of approval are discussed in full in the published staff report. Just a couple of notes. On August 1st, the Air Quality Management District provided approval for demolition renovation activities regarding asbestos. On August 7th, CAL FIRE granted an exemption to the 30-foot defensible space requirement to allow the structure to be placed in the proposed location. Sonoma State recommended that no archaeological survey be required, and a biological survey was conducted, which identified an ESHA north of the property and for which a 50-foot reduced buffer analysis was provided and approved by CDFW. And Westport County Water District stated that it had ample capacity to serve the project. There was some correspondence between staff, the applicant, and the Department of Transportation regarding the recommended road improvements. This is discussed in the attached memo, which is also posted online, and I will go ahead and read into the record right now. Essentially, on July 29th, 2022, staff received a letter from the applicant proposing an alternative driveway approach design in response to condition number 14, which was recommended by DOT. The applicant proposed a concrete approach rather than asphalt, citing aesthetic and economic considerations. Staff notes that the original recommendations from DOT state that concrete driveways shall not be permitted, and based on this information, staff contacted DOT on September 19th to determine whether the concrete approach proposed by the applicant would be acceptable. Jason Wise from DOT responded on October 7th, and Mr. Wise stated that the driveway approach should be paved to match the existing roadway materials, noting that if the roadway is a double chip seal, that the driveway approach can be constructed to match this. And based on this response from DOT, staff recommends that condition number 14 remain in place, including the requirement that the applicant construct a driveway approach that is acceptable to DOT during field review to be paved with asphalt or comparable surfacing to the adjacent road on Abalone. On October 17th, the applicant was informed of DOT's response and staff's recommendation regarding this condition via email. And to close, staff recommends approval subject to the conditions listed in the staff report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. All right. With that said, do we have the applicant online?
Yes.
We do.
Mr. Holt, go ahead. Do you wish to speak on this matter?
Yes. The only thing that I would like to have a little dialogue
Could you
about,
identify yourself for the record?
my name is Robert Holt. I am the applicant.
All right. Go ahead.
So the only thing I'd like to have a little dialogue about is Article 14 or number 14. So Leon and I have talked about it, and I got in touch with Mr. Jason Wise and understand why a concrete approach isn't the best way to go due to the ability to tie in with it. And so I asked Jason, what he thought, and, he needs to stick with the rules that, DOT has applied, which I completely understand. My only challenge is that trying to procure the materials is proven to be really difficult. I've contacted 2 companies in Ukiah, paving companies. One flat said no. The other one said, yeah, we could do it if we had another job that was close where they could fire up the batch plant. I even got in touch with the batch plant to see, what their schedule was. And it's just kind of at the whim of when things are going or when other paving contractors are doing work because it's such a small area. So when I talked with Jason, the reason a concrete approach isn't good because it makes it difficult to tie in if they were to ever do repairs or repave Abalone Street. And so I said, well, what is easy to tie in? And he said, well, asphalt. But he also said, a compacted gravel would be easy to tie in as well. So I'm trying to play by the rules here, but if we pave it, it would be the only paved approach in the little town of Westport. It's proven to be difficult to get the materials. And in the comments, it was saying that, it would, the possibility of increased drainage to the street because of the building. The thing is that the slope goes the opposite way from the road. And then the argument was made that, the surface area of the building, having an impervious area could increase the runoff. And so would a paved approach, whereas a gravel approach wouldn't. So I'm just asking if we could go with a compacted road base with the size and specifications that DOT has set out, as opposed to asphalt.
Okay, thank you. Do we have DOT on the line?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. This is road standard A51A. This is our typical standard that has been used all across the county. I understand there are, remote places such as Westport, down in Gualala. All these places have, under other similar projects have had asphalt driveways, such as in Covelo. I understand the trucking is longer. Contractors, availability to asphalt during, when the batch plant is running, that just needs to be coordinated. As I understand, once the CDP is approved, I believe there's a certain amount of time that you have to be able to complete it. So, this is our standard, that has been adopted by the board. So that's what we need to stick with.
So the question, Alex, was that, could he use compacted material versus the asphalt? And would that be within the standards?
No, the standards, the standards include the asphalt approach or to match comparable surfacing to the roadway.
Okay, well, all I'm looking for is just alternatives, and the way the condition is written is it gives you guys that, that leeway, because it says here, to be paved with asphalt, concrete, or comparable surfacing to the adjacent road. And I understand that what's comparable would be chip seal, but it's really up to you folks as to what is comparable. But the provisions in the requirements are that it be comparable. So I just wanted clarification on this.
Yeah, so basically comparable is essentially to match the, existing surface of the roadway. So, having a chip seal roadway, then, that opens up to the driveway approach is able to be chip seal. Like for instances on other roads are, some of our roads, county roads are gravel roads. So we wouldn't be making a condition for a paved driveway that comes off of a graveled roadway. So it's essentially to match the existing road surface.
Okay. All right. Well, that clarifies. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you want to add, Mr. Holt?
When Alex came out and he and I were walking the area, I said to him tongue in cheek when he mentioned that it had to match the existing roadway, how many potholes and exposed road base do I need to have in my new paved service because of the disrepair of Abalone Street? I feel like right now that it is what it is. There can be no exceptions as far as what the material can be. And as far as chip seal, the paving contractors I've talked to said, if you're going to chip seal it, you might as well try to pave it. So can I ask for this then? It asks that conditions of the approval of the permit is having the approach done. And when Alex and I were talking, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Alex, but we thought that maybe what we could do is I could do compacted road base now, start the structure, and then make the driveway entrance, the paved driveway entrance, a condition of final. I would hate to pave it and then have the delivery trucks mess up what's going to be a rather expensive driveway approach. So can we meet somewhere in the middle on that?
Yeah, DOT would support that as making the asphalt surfacing a condition of the, final of the building permit. And that way, and prior to building, we get the compacted road base in there, which needs to be placed under the asphalt anyway. And that would protect, the edge of the county road for the time being. And then, that also gives a chance to work it out with the, operating season of the asphalt plants and being a little bit more flexible on, when asphalt can be brought out there.
Right. Well, I feel like that's the best happy medium we can get. So it is what it is.
Right. So, are you guys still there?
So, Alex, I am looking at
So maybe,
application of condition 14, which would just state, add a sentence that says, an alternative material may be used until such time till such time as final building permit.
If I may,
Go ahead.
I think if condition 14 were just amended to say prior to final of a building permit rather than commencement of construction activities.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, I would be fine with prior to the final of the, prior to the final of the building permit.
So, prior to final of building permit, and then just basically replace that first part, commencement of construction activities or issuance of a building permit. So we'll just put prior to final permit, comma, the applicant shall construct, and that should take care of it.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so we'll just modify condition number 14. And I think that would allow the applicant, as Alex says, to coordinate in the future. And, you know, it is a good idea. Let the, trucks come and go and until such time as this thing goes to final.
And additionally, I do know there's another CDP, I don't know if it's been brought up at a public hearing before this, but I do know that Caltrans is doing some work along Highway 1
Mhm.
or is proposing to. So I don't know if that factors in at all, but perhaps.
Yeah, because usually Caltrans does the state right away and not the.
Right, it would be Highway 1. I don't know if they would be willing at all to
All right,
go
well,
beyond.
How much beer will it take?
I'm glad you have a sense of humor. So I think at this point, I'm ready to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak on this matter?
No.
I see Tara is online. I'm not sure if you're wanting to speak on this matter or not.
No, I'm here for matters from the public.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and return this item back to the Coastal Permit Administrator, close the public hearing. And what's been recommended is moving forward with an approval, but modifying condition number 14. That basically requires prior to final of building permit, the applicant shall construct a roadway approach onto Avalon Street, and so on, so on. So with that, I will go ahead and move to approve the project based on the findings contained in the staff report modifying condition number 14. And I want to thank both Alex and Mr. Holt. All right, so that is the last item on the regular calendar. I'm going to go ahead and go to matters from staff. Do we have any matters from staff? None? Yes.
Looks like the applicant wanted to
Oh,
speak again.
Mr. Holt, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I sorry, may I ask one more question? And I know we're at where we're at, but who trumps whom? When I look at the land use thing, it would be page 3 of the CDP.
Mm-hmm.
Does that, it says to preserve and maintain the character and rural atmosphere and visual quality of the following villages. Does that trump anything?
Not necessarily. What happens is, how this process works is you have we'll call it an LCP, the general plan, and it says these are the policies that we want to adhere to as much as possible. But we also have the Department of Transportation requirements, which implement a lot of the general plan and a lot of the requirements that the county has. So really what happens is they all work in sync together. It may say rural in nature, but here again, you still have some pavement on the roads, and you still have to match the pavement to what's on the county roads. So I would say, as far as trumping, they both work hand in hand together. one doesn't have priority over the other.
I just feel like it's going to make it look like a subdivision, as opposed to every other place in town, you know?
Well, I mean, the implementation of projects usually requires some sort of improvements, and as communities improve or the area improves, a lot of these requirements also get triggered and kicked in. It's no different than somebody that wants to subdivide. They get permission to subdivide, but at the same time, they also have to put in the roadway improvements. And so you start improving bit by bit. And how it works in California is you just don't go in and say, okay, we want the entire neighborhood to improve, and one property owner or all the property owners have to do it at the same time. What happens is when development takes place, that person who's benefiting from the development is the one that's going to have to make those improvements. And then every subsequent property that develops or improves, they too will have to meet those requirements.
Okay. So, but bottom line is we're good to go. I can get the permit and stuff and get rocking and rolling.
Well, there's an appeal period on the CDP, and once the appeal period lapses, yes, after that you may get going. And I think you and Liam ought to get together after the hearing, and you can talk about the next steps.
Great. Thank you all for your time. And Liam, I'll hook up with you a little bit later today.
All right, thank you. All right, so we said no matters from staff. Now we'll go to matters from the public. Anybody that wishes to speak on this item may do so at this time. Tara, I think you're on.
Oh, I want to speak on like matters from the public, not this item specifically.
We're on matters
Okay.
from the public now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez and planning and building staff. My name is Tara Jackson, and I am a senior planner over at Wynn Coastal Planning and Biology, located in Fort Bragg. And I am here today to discuss that it is my understanding that a return to in-person hearings may be forthcoming and that a hybrid option may not be available. So it is my intent in speaking today to highlight the importance of maintaining virtual hearings. I have already written to Julia Krog, Ted Williams, and Dan Jurdy regarding this item. And through this communication, I was informed by Director Krog that part of the impetus for returning to in-person hearings is the expressed desire of the public. As such, it seems important for me to offer an alternative perspective that supports virtual hearings and/or a hybrid hearing option. I do acknowledge that there are legal and financial implications for continuing virtual/hybrid hearings upon the lifting of the public health emergency that I may not understand. That being said, I request that the county please explore and exhaust all options before considering in-person only as the hearing forecast. And to please let us know if there are any ways that we as consultants and members of the public can help support the county in maintaining virtual hearings and converting to a hybrid system. Now, full disclosure, I have relocated to Arkansas, and so I do have a vested interest in hearings maintaining a virtual option in order for me to continue to support clients in front of hearing bodies. That being said, my relocation highlights the flexibility that virtual hearings afford. I am not the only consultant working on Mendocino projects who live out of the area. For example, we work with hydrologists in Grass Valley, architects in Shasta, archaeologists and geotechnical engineers in Santa Rosa. There are times when their expertise is needed to support the client during a hearing. And so instead of us having to break down their expertise, or we as the planning consultants, or have them drive around the state, they are accessible from their homes slash offices. So, and keep in mind that items often take, maybe 15 minutes to hear. So for some consultants, that could be hundreds of miles of driving for a 15-minute conversation if we were to return to in-person only. And so having these virtual options reduces costs for clients because consultants do not need to drive around the county or state in order to represent their clients. And it also allows, that flexibility for Mendocino businesses to hire and maintain employees who may need to reside out of the area for financial, family, or other reasons. I know that sometimes even county planners have benefited from the virtual hearing option when they needed to, be out of the area during a hearing date, and they were still able to put forth the effort at the hearing for their clients. And then it also has allowed our clients who live, sometimes out of state to be able to represent themselves and to speak on behalf of their own project, which can sometimes be really essential. And so, it reduces travel costs, consulting costs. And then, something that is really close to my heart is the virtual option has allowed, me as a parent of an infant to be able to stay home rather than having to find childcare, which can be almost impossible in Fort Bragg for infants. And then, right now my older kid is sick, and it used to be that would be like a crisis mode if a kid was sick and there was a hearing that day, because it's impossible to find somebody to watch your kid when they're sick. So overall, I am requesting that the county and its hearing bodies consider and explore ways to maintain the virtual option post-public health emergency in order to reduce costs, maintain flexibility, and support working families. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much on that. And I'm not sure if your discussions with the director have indicated that number one, it's inevitable that the governor will remove these state of emergency, which basically removes any of those exceptions to the rules. But when you start doing hybrids under a non-emergency, the location of where people are calling in from now become points that need to be noticed as far as where a public hearing is now being conducted. So if, let's say you're in Arkansas and you're working from your home, we're going to need to know that, and we're going to have to notice that that's a location where people can go and speak. So we are exploring all those possibilities right now. And for the time being, I think we'll stay with hybrid until such time that we move forward with the in-person. But my understanding is that staff is limited in the support because it actually will take more staff to support hybrids. But again, the county's still exploring it, but there are challenges. Either you do virtual or you do in person. But there's problems and there's challenges with doing hybrids.
Okay. Yeah. Ms. Krog did express that like when it comes to administrative costs, that might be, there are definitely some issues. And so it does need to be explored. And I really appreciate, you're explaining this, like noticing issues. So I will definitely try and stay current on that. And to, so that I can understand how that works out. And if there's any way that, we can be supportive, whether that is, talking to state representatives about the issue, then that is something that I would like to be involved in as well.
And again, it just really depends on how the governor approaches this. If he removes the state of emergency, which he's basically saying that's going to happen after the first of the year, then it doesn't provide for a lot of these exemptions that I just mentioned about the noticing requirement. So again, let's say that you're working from home, and do you really want to open up your home as a place where people can go to speak on matters? And so that's one of the challenges is, do people want to do that? In fact, in the days before the pandemic, if somebody called in from a remote location, let's say they were on vacation, they were at a train station or at an airport, that's a public place. And they could say, yeah, I'm conducting the meeting. And where is the meeting? You basically say the meeting is being held here, and anybody can show up and speak, at this location. So there's some legal aspects to doing all of this. And so these are the things that will have to be explored. If the governor continues the state of emergency, then we can continue to do virtual meetings. But again, there's a lot of pressure for folks to go back in person because that's what the general public wants to do, is go back in person. There are significant challenges to doing hybrids. I mean, we can easily transition back to a live meeting, not a problem, or we can continue to do these virtual meetings and so on. But to do both, you have to have somebody, other staff, other administrative staff and IT staff involved. So it presents some challenges.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense. So I can see, kind of the issues from the county side. It's just, I really hope that, things can be explored, and I'm glad that I was able to, as a consultant and member of the public, be able to express that, there is kind of another side, right? And driving, for the public, Mendocino is such a spread out county, right? And with gas prices the way they are, I mean, it can cost somebody $100, right, to get to their hearing in gas. So, there's a lot of costs associated with, in-person only for the public that has been, alleviated by having the virtual hearings.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely hear you, but again, it's up to the director.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I do appreciate your time and having this conversation with me so that I can better understand where the county's at in the process. And I'll continue to stay current on the matter.
Thank you for participating. I very rarely get anybody that speaks under matters from the public, so this is welcome. Well, thank you, Tara, and I hope things are going well for you out of state.
Yes, they are. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much. All right. So with that, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 10:31 a.m. Thank you.
I wasn't sure if that would be helpful or not.